That's like including like the neighboring stock.
The stock market fell. What?
All right. Good morning, everybody. Today's staff.
Hey,
Tough tests.
we're going motorboating.
What? They were the
Tough tests. 129. All right.
page. What page? Man. Close test?
Two tough tests. Yes.
I actually have it.
All right, perfect. Yeah. 2 lines by the top.
Top Tessie.
All right. So we discussed yesterday, or we saw in the Mishnah a couple days ago.
You
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah.
Too bad.
Go ahead.
Another one?
Yeah, when you're
Bigger?
when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
Slurp it up.
So we saw a person cannot say, "I'm giving to my daughter as a Yerusha," right? He can't do that because he's going against what's written in the Torah. The Torah says the sons get Yerusha, right? You know, it says the son. Or I'm not giving you a chelik of the bechor. That doesn't work because we go by what's it called? Because it says it's against what the Torah says. But if a person uses as Yerusha, he's allowed to go say you take it as right. In other words, if he says you take it as a Yerusha, then it doesn't work. But if he uses the word matana, a person is allowed to go ahead and give a gift. So the Mishnah says, let me just find the Mishnah before you. Yeah, when you right, correct. Well, right. So if you use the word giving as he's on his deathbed and he gives instructions, so that if it goes. I'm just reading for the Mishnah says, Apiv riba le'echad u'mi'at le'echad, v'yishava lehen as a bechor, devarav kayama. It works. But if he says because Yerusha lo amar klum, but if he says kasa bein bechil bein b'yan klum mishumatana devarav kayam, if you use the word in there as a matana also, then it does work. So let's see what's going on here. Heichi dami matana betchila, heichi dami biemsa, heichi dami besof. So what does it mean? Does he use the word matana in the middle, beginning, or end? So Kias Rav Dimi Rav Yechon. Here comes the first shita. Rav Dimi and Rav Yechon. Tinasein sada ploni slaploni. Right. Give this field A to Bob. The Yerusha Zohi Matana. And this Yerusha, the Yerusha Zohi, and this Yerusha, right? We have the Ploni V'Yarsha, let it inherit. Zohi Matana. This is a Matana. Actually, Tinasein sada ploni V'Yarsha. Right? If he says, give this field to Ploni, right? The field, he'll inherit it. So, right, gift this, right? Tinasen, give, and give is like a lotion of gift. So therefore, Zoe Matana B'tchil. This is Matana in the beginning of the sentence because it says Tinasen, right? If he says to him, Yarsha v'Tinasen lo, inherit and give to him, right? If he says that, Zoe Matana B'Soif, that means it's Matana B'Soif because it's the word Tinasen lo at the end. And if he says, Yarsha v'tinasin lo v'yarsha. He says, let him inherit and give it to him as an inheritance. Zahi matan v'yamsa. That's using the word matan v'yamsa, and therefore it would work because as long as even if you use the word inheritance, and it's not what the Torah says, inheritance is divided equally amongst his sons. But if he uses the word inheritance and giving, then he meant it's given as a gift. The dafka biyad mechav v'sadachas. And only if we're talking about where he's giving one field number one, right, parcel one, right, to one guy, go ahead and give it to him. But if he says aval, he says but let's say it's one person. He says, okay, to him I will give field A, and I'll give to him, and he'll yarshin field B. Or if he says, Sadach has this field, this field over here, half it will be given to Bob, and the other half will be inherited by Joe. Lo, that doesn't work because since he doesn't know is the one who he says give, he gets it. But the one who says Yerusha, since he's not right for the Yerusha, so therefore, right, he in this case he doesn't go ahead and get it because the word inheritance was given to him, and he is not who the Torah subscribes as an inheritance. And so that was the first opinion. Rabbi Elazar Amir, afilu adam echad b'shtei sada or sada achas v'shnei bnei adam. Even if it's one person in two fields or two person in one fields, if he says the word right Yerusha and Matana, the Matana goes on both. It goes on both, and therefore it's all meant to be given as a gift, and therefore it's not Yerusha, it's not against the Torah, and therefore it works. But if it's two people, right? Let Joe go ahead and inherit this field, and Bob go ahead and I give this field to Bob. So only Joe gets field, and Bob does not. It does not work on both. In the case of that does not work. All right, so we have three opinions so far. The first opinion is it only works if it's one person, one field. As long as if he uses both the shanas of Yerusha and Matana, right? That's the first opinion. But if he uses two people, one field, two fields, one person, that it only works for the one that says Matana, not the one reference to the one where it says Yerusha. And then the third opinion is no. The third opinion is no. 2 and 1 also works. And then Kiyasra Ravin Amaratinasi instead of Plonis Laploni. Give this field to Ploni, right? So give field plot 1 to Bob, the Yarsh Ploni Sadeh Plonis, and let Joe inherit this field. Rabbi Yechanan Amar Kana. Rabbi Yechanan says it works. All right, both of them work. And Rabbi Elazar Amar Loi Kana does not work. So Amar Le, hearing this halacha, when the Rabbi says Amar Le Abaye Le Rabbi. Right? And I was one of them, basically, I can go ahead and answer up the difference. And the other one, it's a problematic. What do you mean? B, Shlomo Rabbi Elazar, like Kasha, and Rabbi Elazar's on a Kasha. Why? Because Rabbi Elazar over here said, right, he just said now, like Kana. It does not work. If you say if you use lashon of Tinasein and Yerusha, it doesn't work. And earlier, Rabbi Elazar says, two people to one person, one field does work. So in the case where it works as one person, two fields. And the other one is where it's two different people, right? One person he uses with one field of Yerusha, and the other one he uses the word of Tinase, and the other one, so that's when it doesn't work. But if he uses, right, if it's one person and two fields, or two person, one field, so then it does cross over to the Matana to the Yerusha. So therefore, I could answer up Rabbi Elazar. Ella Rabbi Yechon, Kasha, and Rabbi Yechon's a Kasha. Over here, it says Rabbi Yechon says Kana. It does work, and earlier clearly it stated that it only works with one person. So Gemara answers Amarai. No, it's about Chalakis Amarai as to what Rabbi Yechon says. Some says Rabbi Yechon doesn't say it work at all, and the other one says that it would work in this case. So Amarai Nino leave it to Rabbi Yechon. Reish Lakish, and now Reish Lakish, we'll soon see his sheet at the end. It'll be halachas like him. Amar Loikana Achiyamar Ploni Uploni. Right, so he says no. Actually, two person and two fields and two persons does work, but you have to do it in this way. Reish Lakish Amar Loikana Achiyamar Ploni Uplonis Yarshu Sada Plonis Uplonis. Joe and Bob will inherit fields for the parcel 1 and parcel 2. Tisim lahem. That I'm giving to them. So he says to them, they will yarshid, right? These two fields that will be given to them. The yarshid. So field parcel Joe and Bob will inherit parcel 1 and 2. That will be given to them as gifts, and they will inherit it. So it says the word Yerusha in the beginning, right? This is key to this shita, according to Reish Lakish. He says the word Yerusha in the beginning, and he says the word Yerusha at the end, right, referring to the other. But then in the middle, he says both of them as a matana. So since he says both of them, the tinasin is going on both lashonos, both Joe with one field and Bob with the other field. And therefore, the word nasatim lahem b'matana goes on both people, and therefore both of them are matanas and both of them work. So this is a case where it's two people, two fields. Joe gets parcel A, right? And Bob gets parcel B. And even though it says that they'll inherit it, but it'll be given to them as gifts, as an inheritance, since it gives it to them as gifts, combines the two, it shows that the matana is going on both. And when you use the lashon matana, right, then it works. So that was what Reish Lakish says. He says it is possible when it's two people, two fields. And Amar Rav Hamnuna lo yishanu elo adam echad v'shadachas. We're only talking about one. So now says Rav Hamnuna lo yishanu el. Excuse me. V'pluksa v'yarshe. The pluksa is actually this machlokes. So Amar Rav Hamnuna lo yishanu elo adam echad v'shadachas. As we said earlier, only one person, one field. Aval adam echad shtei sados or sadachas shtei b'yadam. But if it's one person in two fields or one field and two people, lo, then that does not work. That's Rav Hamnuna. Rav Nachman says, Amar afilu adamecha v'shtei sadas sadachas or sadachas shtei b'yadam. No, he says no. Even if it's one person in two fields or one field and two people, that does work. As the matana does, the word does cross over to make it effective either on both people for that same field or for the two fields for the same person. Aval Amar, but aval shtei sadas shtei b'yadam. But if it's two people, right? One Yerushi, Holy Arshanis, parcel A, and this guy will get this as a gift. Then the guy who was given Yerusha will not work because he didn't use the proper because he didn't use the Ratanat. And for Rav Sheshes, he says Rav Sheshes does work. Two people, two groups, it does cross over. And Amar Rav Sheshes says Rav Sheshes. How do I know this? The Tani we learned in Brisa. Sa'aymer. To second of the line from the bottom, first wide line. A guy says every week give a shekel, give a 50-cent coin, let's say 50 cents to my son every week. He needs that though, right? So he says tnu shekel b'nei b'Shabbos. Veruim takes sella, but you know what? A shekel's not enough. Inflation, right? Thank you, Biden. Right, so inflation, right? Ego, I see you just joined. We're right in the bottom of Kufchav Tes, second line from the bottom. But what he really needs is $1 a week, right, to survive. So nice and then sell. So a guy gives instructions from his estate, right? He's dying. He gives instructions from his estate. Go ahead and support my son. Give him 50 cents a week. And what he really needs is $1 a week. So you give him $1 a week because those were his father's intentions. His father's intentions were to support him. But if he said, I'll teach you shekels, don't give my son, but only 50 cents, then a nice and then shekel. Then you only give him 50 cents, you only give him a shekel and not double that of what's needed.
Because he needs the Lashon Ella.
Right. V'mamar, but if he says, mesu, wait.
Where do you hold?
We're on the bottom of Kuf Chav Tes. I didn't read the words. Right in the bottom of Manal, we're about to turn the page. V'mamar, but if he says, let's say he says, okay, give a half a shekel, right, a week to my kids. V'mamar mesu, and then when they die, yarshu acherim tachteim, others will get in their place. So others. So now you see over there. Once he says, right, give for my property, right, to support these guys, and then if they die, give it to somebody else. So you see. What he's trying to do is conserve. He's trying to go ahead and conserve the field. So he doesn't want to give it all away. So in this case, if he says, okay, give them weekly 50 cents, and when they die, then give to somebody else. So bein shomer tznu, bein shomer al titnu, einos n'al. You only give a shekel because we see his intentions were not necessarily, to support them what their further needs. His intentions really were for so and so to go ahead and to inherit after them. But in this case, over here, it's like two different people, two different fields. Why? Because when the ones are getting supported is the field is for them, and then later on the field goes to somebody else. They don't have the field at the same time, so it's like a new field. It's like two fields and two people, right? Diktani, and it sees that it does work. Like one guy gets in Matana and the other guy gets in Yerusha. So the answer is But Roy over here, we're talking about who was the one who was supposed to get after he was supporting his son, who was supposed to be another one of his children. And we saw earlier, Rabbi Yechim Abraki, the opinion of Rabbi Yechim Abraki, who says that as long as somebody is in one of his sons, he's able to go ahead and say, you know what, he gets it at the Yerusha, and the other one doesn't. He's able to go ahead and do that. And then Rav Ashi, it says Rav Ashi. So Tashma, come listen, very similar case. So let's another case. The chsai. So he doesn't use the word Yerusha or Matan. He says nechsai. All right, my possessions will go to you. V'acharecha, and basically after you die, Ruvain, Yarsh Ploni, then Shimon will get it. V'acharecha, and then after Shimon dies, Yarsh Ploni, then a Levi gets it. So no. We'll see.
Your son or something.
We'll see. Or brothers. Well, no, definitely not sons, right? Each one definitely has their own heirs. So now, Mace Risha, when the first one dies, Kana Sheni, then it's triggered, it goes to the second person. Mace Sheni goes to the second person, Kana Shlisha, the third person gets it. The Mace Sheni, B'chai Risha. Now, let's say, he said, remember, guy, Reuven gets it, or Reuven gets it, Shimon gets it. But let's say Shimon dies while Reuven's alive. So Reuven dies, and Shimon's supposed to get it, but Shimon's gone. So who gets it? Yachzer Nechasim L'Yarshe Risha. It doesn't go to 3, because it was supposed to be inherited by 2. 2 is not around. Now the deal is off, right? The stipulation is off, and therefore it was Reuven. Mm-hmm. So it goes to Reuven's Yarshim, and not this guy Bob, who he said was going to go to to Reuven, Shimon, and then Levi. Right to Bob's Yorshim, right? It goes to now. In this case, it's like 2 people, 2 cases, and we see that it does work. Normally it works, right? 1 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 3, even though he said, right, my possessions will go to you, which sounds like a matana, and it will be inherited by Ploni, which is a inheritance. Nevertheless, we see it goes to the other person as Yerusha, even though that's not what the Yerusha is in the Torah. If you want to go and say Hakanami, in this case also the Yarsha, we're talking about in other words, the other people were also sons and they're all brothers, and basically, and therefore it's Rabbi Yochanan Broki. It's the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan Broka. In other words, he's able to go ahead and stipulate it because they're all his children. Reuben, Shimon, Levi are brothers, and therefore it all falls within what the Torah says about Yerusha, and therefore he can go ahead and divide it, give it to who he wants. See, Haki, that's the case. Well, let's just look at the general case. Meis Sheni, Kaddish Shlishi, when the second person dies, it goes to the third person. That doesn't work, right? Because really, if it's Yerusha, Hashach Rav Acha B'rei Dravav, the Dir Rabbi Yochanan Broka, Nechsai Lechav Achrecha Leploni. If someone says, "My nechasim go to you," and afterwards it goes to somebody else, the Risha and early Yersho, Ein Lesheni B'Makam Rishon, right? So the Rishon is he's 50 Yersho, the Lesheni, and therefore the second one has no place for his Yerusha. Right? Ein l'sheni b'makom rishon klum. Shein zeh lashon matana el lashon Yerusha. Right? And there, because it was given to him as a Yerusha for Yerusha, remember, the first guy was given to him as a gift. And they said, when he dies, let Shimon yarshin it. Once he says the word Shimon yarshin it, it's a full Yerusha to Shimon, and therefore when Shimon dies, it does not go to Levi, Kohen, Rabbi Yochanan Broka. It goes to the Yarshim of Shimon, because he used the lashon Yerusha according to Rabbi Yochanan Broka. So you can't say over here this according to Rabbi Yochanan Broka, and that's why he's able to go ahead and give 1 to 2 or to 3. It all works together because they're all his shiz, because it's not that case. So therefore, we must say we see clearly that if a person does use a lashon to one person with parcel A as a matana, and to person another person he says Yerusha field 2, it does work. And Tiyufta, Tiyufta, it's a kash and others previous shitas that say no, it's only if it's one person, 1 field, or 1 person, 2 fields, or 2 fields, 1 person. It's a kash in all of them. So the Gemara says, "Leiman nami tavi Tiyufta the Reish Lakish." Let's say it's also Tiyufta the Reish Lakish. That Reish Lakish was the one who said, if you say Ploni will inherit, these 2 fields. As a gift, I will give it, as a gift, I give to them as an inheritance. So since he says gift as a double lashon, gift to them, the gifting is on both of them. It does work. So Reish Lakish, you see, you have this whole sentence that has to go, and we see you don't need that. But does it make sense that also Kash and Reish Lakish? Rava says another place, the Reish Lakish binding to last. The halacha is like Reish Lakish in 3 places. All right, in these 3 cases, so the halacha is like Reish Lakish in this case. I can say it's like Kasha and Tiyuf. It's a Tiyuf that Reish Lakish. The answer is like Kasha. If he uses it in a situation where he says it all together, Yerusha and Matana B'Tech Dibur, it all says within the same sentence, within a couple seconds. So then it's considered like he uses the word Matana on all of the items, and therefore you can say matana, it goes to all of them. And the other case is al-achim, once he separates it, this will be given to him as inheritance, or this will be given to him, and then somebody else will get his inheritance, and he does not say in the same sentence. He says it, a little later. then it's not it's considered to be two different statements, and therefore one is the Yerusha, and the which would not work, and the other was Matana, which would work. The Hilchasa and the halach is kol tokdei dibur, dibur dami. The halach is any tokdei dibur is considered to be like dibur dami, is considered to be one long sentence. We combine it. Labar, except for except for idol worship. Person says, all right, this geshka, or this statue, all right, of Dwayne Wade will be Avodah Zarah will worship it, and then he changes. It says he changes mind within a couple of seconds, within the time frame of Shalom Aleichem Rebbe, right? That's normally talking to Dibor. So such a case, it does not work. We still say that item has Avodah Zarah and it becomes still aser. And also Kedushin. A guy says to a woman, will you marry me? Not, right? So like that. So such a case, since it's Tefnei Dibor, we do not say, oh, well, since he said it all in one sentence, we read it all together. No, since it's such severity, it should go be HCC, therefore it now creates a suffix, and the person will have to give basically a get with the suffix, and we'll stop here at the top of the Mishnah. So Sunday, Mitzvah Shem, we will start at, I guess, 6:45. Yeah.
You don't do Sunday?
6:45. Everyone have a great Shabbos. 6:45.